In this video, I want to show you the way that I work with Claude Code for knowledge work. I have completely fallen in love with this way of collaborating with Claude, and I hope that this video can also inspire you for your own work. Now, the problem I found working with, for example, Claude, the app, or ChatGPT, was that the context I was working with is so fragmented. And this is sort of true in general about knowledge work. There are things in email threads and in different apps and in notes, and they're scattered all over the place. And you're constantly copy-pasting them in and out of Claude or GPT or whatever you're working with. And that started to get very frustrating for me. It felt very high friction. The solution that I then adopted, and I'm not the only one who's doing this, I think a lot of people are catching on to the beauty of Claude Code outside of coding. And that is first consolidate the context as much as possible. I now have one folder on my computer where I load everything that I'm working with, and then plugging Claude Code into this so it has access to that whole folder and can do the same things that I do in that folder. I also have connected external apps. The examples I'm going to show are with Linear, but there's a lot of different apps that you can connect to make your work more streamlined. I'm going to just briefly do an overview of how I have set up Claude Code and Obsidian and Linear, and then I'll give two examples for how this looks in my daily work. So let's take a look at this consolidated context. I want to take you through the sort of top level of my folder structure in my workspace. You can see here it's heavily inspired by the second brain and para concepts from Tiago Forte with a little bit of extra thrown in. This is something that I've been developing over several years, also before I plugged AI into it. So you'll see a little bit of para in there. Like any good second brain system, I have an inbox folder. This is just where if I have an idea, a thought that I just want to throw in throughout the day, I just throw it in the inbox. I also have a daily note. This is a function in Obsidian that generates a note every day that you can do a lot of things with. In this setup, it's actually mostly Claude that interacts with the daily notes. It makes kind of logs for me through some of my workflows. You'll see a little bit of that in the examples that I'm going to show. But I actually don't interact that much with the daily notes anymore. Then I have a sources folder. So this is where I have all primary sources, references, quotes, and highlights. I have my Kindle highlights synced in here. I have my read later highlights. If I'm reading a book and I take some notes on the book or quotes from the book, I'll put it into this sources folder. Then I have notes. These are my own original thoughts. I think the most common workflow here is I end up writing some of my own thoughts in a note in the inbox, and then together with Claude, through some of my workflows, we sort through all those, and most of them end up in the notes folder. But this is all my kind of raw thoughts and notes. Then I have an SOPs folder. This is mostly about procedures and documentation for this project itself. Also something that Claude uses a fair amount, but also nice for me to have it documented, what exactly this project is used for and how. An outputs folder is for my published work or drafting published work. And then I have a knowledge folder. This is a little bit of an experiment that I'm working on right now to make kind of like a wiki of all of my knowledge that lives in this project. Of course, an archive where I put completed projects. And then here we start to see the flavor of the para. I have a projects folder. I have a folder under this main folder with each of my active projects and all the stuff that I need in each folder to work on that project. And then I have a resources folder with different reference materials, whatever, PowerPoints, PDFs. Then I have made a systems folder where I document different workflows. I have this shutdown routine, which is one of the examples I'm going to show in this video. I also have a system for managing my fitness protocol, a system for my goals. I also have this stand-up system that I'll show today as well. Quarterly planning, sprint planning. I have a lot of different sort of systems that run in this project that I document in this folder. Okay, so then what happens is I plug in Claude Code So I spin up Claude Code in this folder that I just call Louise's. So then Claude has access to all of these files in this workspace, and it can read them and edit them and create new files. So already just using Claude Code opens up a huge realm of different possibilities. And on top of that, we can also plug in these MCP servers so that Claude can then access external apps. The example I'm going to show is with Linear, which is a project management app I use. So Claude can both read what's going on in Linear, and it can also edit in my Linear project, which means it can tell me what I have on what tasks I have, and it can also add tasks in there for me. Okay, and what is MCP, you ask? MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, and it's a standard for building toolboxes that let AI assistants interact with other apps. So an MCP server is one of these toolboxes that is built to let, for example, Claude perform tasks on your behalf in a specific app. In my example here, it's Linear, but it could also be something like Google Calendar, Slack, or any database. And if you're familiar with APIs, MCP is essentially a standardized API that is designed for AI tools. I just want to give you two examples. These are workflows that I use every single day, and they are kind of the bookends of my workday. It's the first thing I do in the morning and the last thing I do before I shut down my day. The first one is a daily stand-up. Even though I am right now a team of one, I still like to run Scrum. It's what I'm used to. It keeps me motivated. So I do a daily stand-up. I just do it together with Claude Code. And what we do is we have a look at task status and project status in Linear. What are the priorities for today? It's kind of an interactive flow that I run with Claude. At the end, when we make our decisions about priorities, what we're working on today, Claude will go into Linear and update the tasks. And then at the end of the day, when I'm done with my work, I have also a shutdown workflow. Claude has a look at any of the notes that I added to the inbox folder, and it looks at the rest of the context in my file structure, and it suggests where it should file these notes in the inbox. And then I can agree with that, or I can tell it to do something different, but we kind of run this inbox processing flow together. Then I have it ask me a few reflection questions, my favorite part of the day, what I would have done differently, and crucially, what tomorrow's priority should be. Then I get a final sort of open-ended brain dump prompt where anything else I just need to get off my mind so that I can properly shut down, I can just type into Claude. And then the final thing that Claude does for me is it syncs my Git repository. And the nice thing about these two workflows is there is a kind of connection, there's a feedback loop in them. The reflections that I make and the priority that I set for the next day, all of this is recorded in my project, everything from shutdown and stand-up, but specifically the reflections and the priorities that I want to focus on, these get looped into the following day's stand-up. So when I run my stand-up workflow the next day, Claude will remind me of what I said the day before should be my priority. I'll show you now how the stand-up and the shutdown workflows actually look in practice. Let's have a look at the stand-up command that I run in action. You can see here I have Linear up on one side just to show you what's going to happen here. I have two tasks in progress right now. One of them is due today. And the first thing I do when I start my work every morning is I run this stand-up command. I'm going to run it here in demo mode. And as you can see, Claude goes off. Normally, I wouldn't sit here and watch it do the things it's doing right now. Obviously, I would let this run in the background, and depending on what kind of morning it's been, I'm either making coffee or I'm catching up on emails. Recently, what I really like doing is kicking this off and then going and reading for a little bit and then coming back to finish this once Claude has gone through. So what it's doing now is it's going into Linear and checking the tasks that I have. It's pulled the reflection from yesterday, and that it's pulled from my workspace that I wanted to, for today, focus on Microsoft ecosystem workflows. Most of the clients I'm working with are working in the Microsoft ecosystem, and I have a few things I want to set up to help them. And normally it would look at what I completed yesterday, show me that, what's currently in progress, and then also what's due today. And sometimes those things are not the same. This is why I really like this workflow, because sometimes I will go and I'll put a bunch of due dates in and a bunch of tasks, and then they'll kind of like die in the backlog. So I like that in this case, this one that's due today happens to be in progress. But if there was something sitting in the backlog that I wanted done today, it would surface that for me. And then it asked me, what tasks do I want to focus on today? And I'm just going to tell it, I want to focus the whole day on the Microsoft Drafting Assistant. Can you change the due date for the skills directory for tomorrow instead? Then again, it starts working on that. And once again, I might already be setting up for my focus task. I definitely wouldn't be sitting here and watching it do this. Yep, so it's done this. It has updated the due date. And you can see it's already visible here in Linear that this is now set for tomorrow. And I'm basically good to go. And then I just realized I forgot that I wanted to do a bit of reading today. So I'm also going to ask Claude to make a task for me here. I have this Anthropic report. I'm going to copy the link here, put it in for Claude, and say, actually, I also want to read this report today. Can you create a task in Linear, put it in cycle 11, and also set it to in progress? And it's going to work on that, and see it already has popped up here. So that helps at least me to keep from context switching too much. I normally wouldn't have Linear up at the same time as I'm doing the stand-up with Claude. I'll check Linear throughout the day, or I'll even make updates myself. It's not like everything has to go through Claude, but it's really nice to just have one context where I'm just talking with Claude, where we can work through planning the day together without having to switch back and forth to too many different places. All right, then let me show you how the shutdown routine runs. It is also a Claude command. And now what it would normally do, processing my inbox folder and look at the daily notes to see if we need to categorize some of the things that I wrote down throughout the day. In the demo mode, it's going to skip it, but it would show me the notes and it would ask me where it should, or it would suggest where to file the notes, and I can confirm or deny. And then I have this at the end of every day. I have what I'm calling a work capture prompt. It's a really good way for me to reflect on what I did today and to see if there's anything, as it says here in the prompt, is there anything that I did today that might be worth sharing? I've worked out a pretty good knowledge base retrieval system in Microsoft Automate that I think I should make a tutorial on. So now it's going to take this and save it in my daily note, and then at the end of every week I review these kind of notes to myself to plan future content. And then I have reflection questions, and I'll just sort of quickly run through these, getting to do deep work for the entire day. That's my favorite part of the day. One thing I can do differently. Don't schedule other things at the same time or at the same day when you want to do like a full deep work day. Catching up on my reading. Then I just get a chance to just like brain dump something. Today I don't really have anything. Nothing for today. It's also going to record all of these, so none of my thoughts get lost in any of this. That's essentially the shutdown routine. If I were doing this for real, it would do a git sync, but since it's demo mode, I'm skipping that. That's it. So there we have it. That was a brief overview of how I have solved the issue that I've been having of fragmented context in my knowledge work, together with Claude Code and Obsidian and some MCP servers, and I gave a few brief examples of how that actually looks in my work. And like I said in the beginning, I really hope that this has been a bit inspiring for you, so you can see what is possible with this type of setup. I realize this wasn't a step-by-step at all, but if you're interested in specifically how to set this up, please do let me know.